Nigeria. It was registered in Nigeria on the 27th September 2010. AIN stands today as the professional backbone of EIA practice in Nigeria. Our association is committed to providing technical leadership in EIA administration and practice in Nigeria by offering expert advisory to government, supporting in the setting of professional standards, organizing trainings, workshops and research, supporting regulators with capacity development, strengthening environmental governance at all levels. 32 years after the EIA Act, Nigeria now has dozens of sectoral environmental regulations, stronger regulatory bodies at the federal level, and regional EPAs. There are environmental units in ministries, extra-ministerial departments and agencies, and we have also developed a growing indigenous EIA consulting capacity. EIA implementation in Nigeria has also improved judicial recognition of environmental rights and increased public awareness and community participation on development projects. Yet, we must be sincere with ourselves, gaps still remain. Despite the progress made, Nigeria's EIA landscape faces challenges that weaken the system. These include overlapping and occasionally conflicting mandates, multiple agency reviews, monitoring and enforcement aspect of EIA is weak, sometimes without adequate harmonization, delays and bureaucratic bottlenecks. Project proponents often encounter long review timelines and inconsistent technical capabilities, insufficient monitoring and enforcement. Post-EIA monitoring remains the weakest link in our national EIA system. Lack of modern equipment and data systems. Environmental monitoring requires laboratories, mobile analyzers, modeling tools, drones, GI capabilities, digital platforms, limited technical capacity in emerging areas such as climate change, risk assessment, cumulative impact assessment, strategic environmental assessment, health impact assessment, biodiversity offsets, ESG reporting. The National EIA Regulatory Body has a register of well over 3,000 environmental consulting firms. Individual consultants are, at moment, unlike in countries like Kenya, not registered nor certified in Nigeria. The certification field in Nigeria is quite complex and murky, thereby creating the exact opposite of what it sought to cleanse. Environmental consultants have to embark on costly yearly accreditations and registrations with several federal environmental agencies and also with state regional environmental agencies. One clear disadvantage is that this drives the cost of EIA higher, and in the past championed by two main environmental professional bodies for the certification of environmental consultants in Nigeria. The law was passed in 2023, but compliance is very weak, largely also because this law was passed without the input and role of the main national regulatory body, the Nigerian Federal Ministry of Environment. The World Bank gave assistance to Nigeria via its project that sought to tie regulations in environment, social and the procurement fields together. One of the expected outcomes was to stem corruption in government procurement by strengthening and regulating the environment and social field via selected universities and government agencies. The project has several layers of free training and certification of environmental practitioners in Nigeria. Participation is not compulsory, but it is hoped that it will gain acceptance and full compliance as time progresses. My association sits on the council that certifies and accredits environmental consultants under the project. We have given certification to over 500 individuals thus far. These institutional challenges we are witnessing in Nigeria are not criticisms, they are opportunities for reform. They are the reasons we are here. I must state here categorically that the decision of Ghana EPA to have environmental registration embedded in its new law is the first and most critical step towards the realization of this noble objective. However, as EIA practitioners, you will all agree with me that a strong, harmonized, digitized and forward-looking EIA system is what we all desire. There is no gainsaying the fact that the following are urgently needed to reform and strengthen our AI administration in West Africa. Harmonization of mandates and clear regulatory rules, digital transformation of the AI process, professionalism and capacity building, strengthening monitoring and compliance, integrating climate change, health and social safeguards, strengthening public participation and community trust, data integration and research partnerships. The world has digitized IAIA. Ghana must do the same. You need a unified online platform for project registration, public disclosures, review timelines, decision tracking, as well as monitoring and compliance reporting following global reporting standards. As professionals of IAIA Ghana, you must be ready to lead the charge in professionalism and capacity building in West Africa by developing professional certification pathways, updated technical guidelines, national training modules, continuous professional development programs, ethical codes, and peer review systems. Let us remain, enforce compliance, and embrace innovation. As consultants, uphold the highest professional ethical standards, and as academia, produce competent practitioners and conduct frontier research. Industry players should treat,
which is an initiative of SETS Ghana, and it's facilitate knowledge sharing and expert-led discussions on critical environmental management and sustainability issues in Ghana, Africa, and around the world. The SET Perspective hosts quarterly webinars, which we stream on our YouTube pages, and so you can follow SET Ghana on LinkedIn and YouTube, and to recap all of our sessions last year. I would also like to remind everyone that this panel discussion is being streamed live on SET Ghana's LinkedIn and YouTube pages, and so maybe from SET Ghana's LinkedIn and YouTube pages, and so maybe from tomorrow or next week, if there's anything you want to sort of look back and reflect on, you can always catch the recordings over there as well. So now, as we have heard from Mr. Sampong's opening address and the keynote address, environmental practice has grown significantly in Ghana over the years. Now we are seeing more projects, more consultants, more disciplines, and higher expectations from regulators, from clients, from communities, and also from the wider public. And now at the same time, there are concerns around quality of the work that as consultants we put out, consistency and credibility.
Greetings all. My name is Dr.
Well,
Abbas Suleiman,
and all
National
of this
President
spurs the
Association for
need
Environmental
for
Impact
certifying
Assessment of Nigeria.
practitioners.
I
And now the
hereby
EPA,
give this
as I'm
address
sure we are all aware,
at the National
has the mandate of
Conference, your National
certifying
Conference, IAIA
environmental
Ghana,
management
with the
practitioners
theme, role
as
of
enshrined
IAIA
in
charting the
Section
way forward
31
in
of the new
certification
Act
and registration.
1124.
Protocols.
Now, certification
It is
goes
my privilege
beyond
and indeed
simply
my profound
identifying
honor to
who
stand
is
before you today
practicing.
as the
It
National
speaks
President
to
of the Association for
competence,
Environmental
minimum
Impact
standards,
Assessment
and
of Nigeria,
accountability. And this is
AAIAN,
also where
to deliver
professional
a keynote
associations
address
like
at the
IAIA
IAIA Ghana
have a very
2026
key
Annual
role
National
to play.
Conference, handing
And
over
so
and
this
dinner.
session will
This
be
gathering is
examining
more
the
than a
role
professional meeting.
of
It is
IAIA
a national
Ghana in
conversation.
supporting
It
quality
is a
assurance,
convergence of the
ethical
finest
practice,
minds
and
driving
professional
environmental
development
governance
within
and
this
sustainable
new
development
certification
in Ghana.
framework.
We
And
all
so
know
tonight we
that
are
environmental
fortunate to
impact
have
assessment is an
very
instrument
two
that
key
ensures
people
development does
in
not
the
compromise
industry
environmental
who
integrity.
will be
But for
sharing
EIA
their
to be
perspectives
effective,
on this
it's-
rather critical topic. First, I would like to welcome to the stage Mr. Ebenezer Apasampong, who is a former Deputy Executive Director of Technical Services at EPA, and he's also now the CEO of Eco Solutions Industries Limited. And to join him, we have Mrs. Audrey. Oh, sorry, Mr. Larry Kotoy. Larry, I see you. Please, he's a director at the EPA, so kindly join us on the stage. Thank you. And I'll just kindly make my way here to sit. All right, and so this discussion will roughly take about 30 minutes. And then after we would have some Q&A sessions after I have exhausted all of my few questions as the moderator. Now I want to give Larry and Mr. Sampong just about 30 seconds each to just tell us a little bit about who they are before we get into the nitty-gritty of things. So Larry, I would go with you.
All right, thank you very much and good evening. My name is Larry Kuto. I work with the EPA. I've been with the EPA for 20 years now. And I started my career with the Environmental Assessment and Audit Department, and I have moved to the Petroleum Department over the years. I've been part of the legal drafting team for the past 10 years or more. So the most recent laws that you've seen since 2016 coming up to 2025, I've been part of that team, and I'll be happy to share some of the thinking behind some of these laws with you as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Rama, thank you. Well, I have been fortunate to walk into the EPA at a time when environmental assessment processes were being developed. And I had our former president, Mr. Alote, and others. I also had the opportunity to work with Larry, from generation to generation. So I've been, I've been with the generations from the beginning, and then developing the system and bringing it to where it has come to. And also very instrumental in developing the new, the act as well as the regulations. So the next phase is helping to shape it. I think it's very important that we bring as many minds to this so that we can develop a good system that will serve the purpose that we intended it to be. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sampong, and thank you, Larry. And so my very first question goes to Mr. Sampong, and this is on why professionalization matters. Now, from your experience, how would you describe the current level of professionalism, quality, and consistency in the impact assessment work in Ghana? Also, what gaps in competence or in ethics in practice have you observed, which makes the case for having a structured certification system?
Well, thank you for it's a very loaded question. I'll try and do justice as best as I can. But if you look at the history of the development of the system, we have spent a lot of energy to create the system, the procedures, the legislative requirements, the systems that are required to be able to put in place a credible EI system is in place, to the extent that we've had the opportunity to even come out with a modern, new legislative instrument, the LI as well as the Act. So that has been done. The regulatory side, for me, is well advanced. At the same time, you expect that the professional side would have been carried along. There were some initial attempts to build that capacity. At the beginning, it was the regulator who initiated the moves to build the national professional capacity to provide services for clients. And that process initially was well organized. And over the years, some attempts have been made to also add on to it. But the practice, because it's not also well regulated, in the sense that there's no, up until today, there was no legal requirement to develop any professional certification scheme. So it was an open field. Anybody who feels I can get in and prepare a report and submit it and get it approved, you are good to go. But it comes with its own risk. In as much as it's a free market approach, the risk is that quality suffers. You have a system where you receive very good reports, and then you also receive very bad reports. So, and that is where the challenge is. How do you ensure the quality of the reports that are submitted to you? And when that happens, it introduces all kinds of pressures, both to the regulator and to the proponent. Because there's always that idea that, okay, the regulator is creating problems for the proponent, and you are not issuing permits, and the regulator feels the quality of the reports are not good enough. So that requires that we put in place a good certification system that will build the competence of the people who are conducting the assessments, and also lay down some ethical rules that will guide it. And I expect that it doesn't even have to only do with the consultants. Maybe in the future we have to look at the review process itself. You know, I know that the EPA, over the period we have been doing that. I say we because I've been part of it, so I don't want to isolate myself, even though I'm no more there. But over time, we have to have a certified system for reviewers. I think the UK has a good system where the review aspect of the assessments are also very well coordinated and organized. So perhaps we'll move to that.
Larry, I think Mr. Sampong mentioned, issues around quality of reports and also ethical standards. Are these two issues sort of central to EPA's push for a certification system now, or there are some other motivations? If you can kindly just walk us through why now in terms of certifying practitioners.
All right, thank you very much. I'll add to what Mr. Sampon has already mentioned. Over the years, we were keeping an Excel database of consultants, which we were saying registered consultants, but in actual sense, it was just a list. So normally proponents will come and they'll be asking EPA, do you know some consultants who can do this work for me or that work for me? We just give the list out without any basis. Sometimes they will ask, who do you want to recommend? It becomes a bit difficult because we as regulators, if you pick somebody and the work doesn't go well, and we've had experiences before. I'm sure Mr. Ami will say, my former boss as well. And we've had experience where proponents will come and report to EPA their experiences with consultants that are on our list. That is just some of the genesis of the whole discussion. But we've also come to the point where service delivery has changed. We used to have the 90-day EIA process, and that 90 days is just the regulatory aspect. If you take out the time the consultant will take to do his work, sometimes 2 years. But now, things have changed in terms of the time that we have to use to process applications has reduced drastically. But if we are also supposed to deliver that same service within a very short time, that means that the quality should be there. Over the years, it's like we rewrite reports, more or less, for some consultants. And that also delays the process. So if we want to really catch up with the time, it means that we need to improve on the quality. Now, we've also got into the stage where there are now new areas that demand a bit of expertise and recognition in terms of the quality of the people doing that work. Now, the new law has introduced biodiversity issues, climate change. Now we are moving away a bit from pollution is our normal comfort zone. So we have that capacity to monitor for levels of pollution and all that. But now we need to go into biodiversity. How do you assess the changes, whether temporal or even permanent, without reversing and all that? You need a certain people to do it. Now we have climate change. We don't know how many people have actually gone into the space of doing climate risk assessment in EIAs. All that we see is climate change is always tied to air emissions, but they are completely two different things. So we have in our act also the Part 5 especially, where we are focusing on the carbon market, but it's also tied to these same undertakings. They will have to generate these same carbon credits for you to trade, and you need to go through the EIA process. So things have changed within the global perspective in terms of how projects should be assessed. Again, we as regulators, we don't need to be the one selecting who should do some work for a proponent. I think that we need to get into the space where now we should recognize who is doing what for somebody else, so that at least we can have that kind of. Now, sometimes international consultants will come and say, oh, but you don't have competent people, because they will be asking for a list of people who can do certain types of jobs. So this is an area where we want to advance this discussion in terms of how do we register and then also certify consultants. We've already developed some drafts, and these are initiatives that are, I would say, being pushed with the global change that we are having, and then also building our own credibility in terms of our EIA system. The last one has to do with what has, and I know sometimes, some years back, IAIA conferences there was a topic as to whether EIA has improved the quality of the environment or not. I don't know if we can say yes or no. Whether the EIA process itself over the years has really improved the quality of the environment. So sometimes when we are doing state of the environment report, the data that is presented in the EIAs is very difficult to even use to do some of these analysis. So there's a need to change these things a lot, so that at least we can get data to inform policy decisions and also help you in terms of your own accreditation processes, and then get bigger jobs as well. So for us as regulators, these are the things that we are looking at going into the future.
Okay, thank you, Larry. Now, I'll stay with you for a bit. I'm sure a lot of professionals are wondering what structure or form this certification framework is going to take. In fact, if you are like me, you are thinking, hey, will there be exams or no? Some of us, we don't test well. So now we also know from other professions like the engineers, the surveyors, the pharmacists, for example, they have quite robust and established system for certifying their professionals. And so what lessons has EPA picked from sort of these three professions in aligning or designing its framework? And maybe what can we expect?
Anyway, so for us, if I look at the draft regulations that we have started with, it's not like a very strict requirement. However, there are levels that we need to look at. Somebody will be asking whether we are certifying individuals or the firm. Now, we are looking at individuals, and those individuals should be working in a firm or as by themselves. So if you are a person who wants to do any work within the space, at least your CV should be there in terms of, but our initial discussion was we don't want to dwell too much on academic qualifications. We know people who have been working within the space for some time. So we always say that we'll go with an amnesty with existing people. But of course, there should be some level of training. You need to cross a certain bar to be able to receive that certification. So first is the registration, and then the next one is the certification. So that's why we have put out some adverts asking you to register. And I know some people called whether we should register our firm or individuals. And I said, it's the individuals, but you can indicate that you work in this firm. That is just the registration. After we have gotten the registration, the list itself, then we will now proceed to to the next level of certification. And it will involve some level of competency test for us to know whether we should certify you or not. And the regulation that we also have some issues with, if you have any disciplinary issues, we might also put some brakes on you. So these are things that are very flexible, but in our process of regulation, we always engage the stakeholders themselves. So it is not cast in stone. We'll be sharing those draft regulations with you so that you can also make your own input. After all, it's for you. If you say that we should toe this line, but for us, EPA, we want to have some minimum bar as to how we should certify somebody to practice within the space. But at least we'll be coming back to you with the draft that we have.
Okay, I think that's good to hear from you, Larry. And now, Mr. Sampong, so what role can IAIA Ghana play in this process to support EPA's regulatory work in this regard?
Okay. Already, IAIA has been very instrumental in engaging in this process. I remember we tasked the team to join the EPA side to even develop a regulation. At the time, there was no act backing the regulation, so that led to the inclusion in the Act 1124. The next step is, as he said, is to continue the engagement. Even the outcome of today's conversation can also inform and work with the EPA to develop a system that will be credible and then also friendly. I mean, if we have to write an exam, it should be a test. But certainly, I see that we need to evolve the system. I mean, we as a country, we've never just jumped into things. We go through a process. And once we adopt a process approach, we are likely to get a good outcome. You don't want a system where you just go, people can pass, but this is a professional practice. And it's important that people have the tools to be able to deliver an assessment that will influence. It's not just doing the assessment. It's also ensuring that it translates to achieving the purpose for which we are doing it. So we would have to build competence, work on ethics, engage, and then also and is a thought that eventually the system should ensure that there's a role for IAIA to play. I am thinking that one of the key requirements for registration should be that you should be a member of IAIA. In good standing. Yes, you have to belong to the association. And there's a reason for that. This is a network where we also build capacity. So we can use that space to also improve upon ourselves, work on our ethical conduct, and engage properly at a bigger level than individual engagement. So that's a proposal. Maybe we can think through how this will be done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And now, this is my final question, and I would like each of you to just give a response to this. Just looking into the future, in 5-10 years from now, what, in your opinion or your perspective, would you like the certification or the practitioning system or the landscape to be like in terms of the capacity of professionals to undertake, quality work? Do you foresee any sort of slight changes to the certification system, etc.? Just looking into the future, what should be the ideal scenario? Larry, I think we can start with you.
Okay, thank you. So from our side, there will be changes. I think that one is for sure. There will be changes, and I'm sure some people will not be happy with the changes. So we have to be prepared for such changes as well as we go forward. But from our side, we are looking at a system that is credible and can also support our own work. Because over the years, we've been struggling to get reports out of the system because of the quality of the report. So from our side, we want to see a system where the participants themselves will make the process for them, for yourselves. I mean, we are only there to facilitate that process. But if we are going to face challenges, that means that we need to check some of the bottlenecks to this implementation of the law. But there will definitely be some changes. But ethics should be the core part of this whole discussion. Ethics. As for the quality of consultants, it's always there. But it's a part of the ethics that always separates some of the competencies. And over the years, that's what we've seen. So we are using the system actually to build the ethics of the profession. Because sometimes people tag certain consultants. Once you mention their name, they associate them with certain names. Either they did not complete an assignment, or they have taken money and abandoned the work. And so it's the ethics part that we need to improve. And I feel that IAIA can do that, to actually build that. And that would be good for Ghana. And I'm sure other African countries have done that. But we need to be the front runner in some of these areas. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sampong.
Okay, I see the space becoming more recognized. You know, the certification basically will weed out some hidden consultants. If you want to practice, you certify. So that gives visibility to the practice. And again, it brings some international respect to our local consultants. What the system is doing now is that you can even come from overseas and just come and do an assessment. You need to be registered. It didn't differentiate between the external and the internal. So it puts everybody at the same level. And that, for me, provides an opportunity for us to properly engage between the local consultants and the international consultants. I see us improving upon our capacity to deliver. Even as an association, we can even do some self-regulation. Over time, we can engage and see who is doing well, who is not doing well. And then we can create opportunities for people to build up their capacities. I see a system where we'll have some categorization. You know, maybe the seniors, the intermediaries, and then the starters. And then I see sector specialists as well. There's a requirement that you need to indicate the team. And these all of them must be certified. So if it's a social specialist, that person must be certified. So you when you are doing an assessment, then you know that these are the people responsible for what has been put in the document. So that if you want to engage, or if your name is attached to it, then you do a good work. If you do bad work, your name is also attached to it. So that's what I see. I believe that this component of the system will help complete the cycle. Maybe after that, we can then move forward into attacking the educational component of it, the school curriculum and all the other things that come along. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Sampong. Larry, I think you.
Yes, so there was one last point that we need to attach some importance to, the issue of local content. We have noticed that some foreign consultant just walk in and sometimes produces reports by themselves. And we need to take a look at some of these things carefully. Maybe within the legal framework, the regulations, when we are doing it, we need to put in certain requirements that for certain type of projects that will be undertaken by foreign, they need to have a local consultant clearly written out. Otherwise, I see a lot of projects coming, and because of the dynamics of the new changes with climate change, the carbon market being introduced, there's now the tag of there's no local expert to do it. And over time now, we are talking about blue bonds within the marine environment. They are saying, oh, we don't have experts. So we need to make that conscious effort to actually put in some requirement for local content. That at least for all these projects, we should have a local consultant being part of the team. So that when the application comes, we always have to tick that particular box. Otherwise, a lot of these projects will just be going through the pipeline without any contribution from it. So we need to look at that component. We are regulators. We can always do the stakeholder engagement, but I feel that it should come from your end as a proposal so that at least we can take it on board when we are engaging you on the regulations.
Okay, thank you, Larry and Mr. Sampong, for your quite insightful contributions. Please, can we give them a round of applause? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now I would like to open the floor, I think maybe the next 10 minutes or so, for some questions from the audience, if we have any. If you have a question, kindly raise your hand and my colleague will bring you the mic to ask your question. Okay. Please, can you tell us your name and your firm or company, and then you ask your question. Thank you.
All right, thank you. My name is Francis K. Inunu, University of Ghana. Okay, so wanted to check a follow-up on Larry's statement. I think that not only having one person in the local space, but we should look at a significant percentage being part of the team that is doing the EIA. Maybe we can push for that, lobby in that direction, than to have only one person insignificant in there just to mark or tick a box. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to find out from Larry is whether he mentioned that registration has started or something like that. Is that true? And where can one register? Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. Larry, I think maybe you can answer.
Thank you, Prof. So your first comment is well noted. So we will be receiving some proposals from your end, how the percentages should be, and then we'll take that on board. With the second one, there was a publication requesting practitioners to register. So it's just a normal registration form, but I haven't seen the publication yet myself. But I'm sure colleagues here have the access to it. It's just a simple registration process before we go to the certification. But I can share. Yes.
Okay.
Our corporate.
She's here, so.
Okay, so let me just add on to what Larry said. So we did send out a public notice to just sensitize you that we are about to start the registration process. So the registration form is not yet complete, and so we would send that out in due course. We are still working on it. Yeah.
Okay. So we hope that it will be also digital.
And it will be, yeah.
It should be digitized, and the reason why the registration is important is like doing a needs assessment. You need to know who is in the space. Maybe we are just doing a law for just a few people, but if you have a large mass of existing practitioners, and possibly if there are areas of competence, then you have a good database to respond to, so that we can even develop the system to respond to maybe needs within various areas. So when the thing comes, we'll put it on there, or you will assess it. Everybody will have to register. If you don't register, you are out. Maybe we'll give you another 2 years to come enter the system, or you don't put a timeline on it. You will. Okay.
And that will inform us
Yeah, okay.
on the guidelines and the procedures for the certification. So definitely there'll be a timeline on
All
that.
right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please, does anyone else have a question? All right.
Thank you very much. I'm Michael Fosu. I'm with Ghana Highway Authority. And my question goes to Mr. Larry. Director, we are talking about people already in the space. We are talking about practitioners. But as a young environmentalist like I am, what is the plan on bringing on board graduates, new graduates, people in the educational sector that are now gravitated into the professional space? What is the plan? Is there any guidance for them in the plan that you have? What is going on for them?
All right, thank you. So, with the Mr. Sample mentioned some categorization in terms of most of the things we will come to you. So, if we say somebody with experience of maybe 1 to 5 years, we'll put you as maybe an assistant associate or until you get to above a certain number of years, then we attach maybe senior or chief consultant. We'll all discuss those categorizations. Again, if the proposal is to also have student practitioners as a category, student practitioners, that can be, we can actually make room for that. So at this stage, we don't have a law. It's just a draft test. So feel free to submit proposals. We can all sit around the table and then discuss it. Because definitely maybe a firm will need some student practitioners to be part of a team so that at least they can also learn, build capacity over time. But once they finish school, they can now also go to the next level of maybe getting their own certificate. Because the certification will come with a number. Everybody will have a certification number, so that when you are bringing reports, once you quote your name, it goes with your own number. Just like the engineers also have their own. So that is how it will be. So we can actually discuss those modalities. It shouldn't be an issue at all.
Okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Panakokweji Fusu. Chief Executive.
Hello.
He said at one of the fora of IAIA, the issue of whether IAIA has made any impact, if that's what you said. I just want to know your thought on this issue, taking into consideration Ghanaian situation.
Please.
I said, you mentioned that, if I got it right, that at one of the forum of IAIA, the issue of EIA had already made, whether it had made any impact. And I would just want your thought on that, with particular reference to Ghana, Ghanaian situation. Why am I saying this? Because I know here one of the conditions is that if you are constructing a road, you need to water it regularly. But we see that's all over the place. So I just want to know your thought on this issue.
Well, I'll try, but Mr. Bedu-Eboa and Mr. Amio say they are all sitting close to you. And this debate started from their time, trying to even understand whether the EIA has been useful. But I'm sure, Mr. Ejefo, you know that we've tried to incorporate some of these EIA provisions into the medium-term development plans of assemblies and issues of climate change, some of these specific interventions. We've made some progress. I won't say it's totally not beneficial. We've made some progress. Even without it, I'm sure that we will be in a deeper environmental chaos by now. But I think that we need to move to the next level where we can actually see the effect of a particular EIA project being undertaken in an area where all the components have been properly identified. Now we are talking about gender-based violence. We are talking about, now most of the time the EIA will come and say social vices or social issues. These days, you can't say that, because if you look at our EIAs over the years, they just couch some of the impact as social vices, immigration, and all that. But now we have moved away from those, from those kind of assessments. If you want to go deeper into those assessments, it will be difficult for you to measure the mitigation that was proposed, whether it was effective. The issue has always been that the identification has been the problem over the years. So the mitigations that were proposed never really worked. So this is where we are moving towards. So we've done well, but we are now going in terms of being very specific as to some of the issues that we used to put them as a whole. But now social issues, you need to identify issues of gender-based violence, sexual abuse, drug abuse, if the project will trigger any of these impact. Yeah.
Before the two people sitting on your left were coming, I think that Larry said, you know, the tool is to prevent. Basically, that's the intention. So it's likely that at the project level, some prevention has occurred. We haven't documented that in a scientific manner. So maybe that's something that we can look at, maybe as a country, to look at this question and research on it. But I would say that it's very difficult to attribute anything to the project level assessment. What would have helped us is a strategic level assessment, you see, and then the ability to do cumulative impact assessment. So I take up Abuaze, for instance, where there's a concentration of power plants. Within that space, we can do a cumulative assessment, and then of the tool to maintaining, for instance, the airshed. What was it before? What is it today? You know, and then we can manage it properly. Unfortunately, we haven't made progress in that direction. Even with the SCA, we try to include it in the district level assessment, sector assessment, but now it's in the law. So maybe we should take advantage of that and develop it, you know, and then hopefully we can then attribute it to that. The other, so.
Oh, I think, my name is Yao Amuyawase. I think Ebenezer, to some point, answered it perfectly. I mean, what we need is strategic level assessment to take care of, you know, such bigger issues about the real impact of the impact assessment. But you can't use project level assessment, which is very reactive. See, reactive, preventive. Okay, so you cannot measure that kind, you know, those kinds of impacts as such, because they are very restricted and limited. Is the SCA at the strategic level of cumulative assessments that give us the room, you know, to look at the bigger issue and to set thresholds for the individual issues so that we can measure whether cumulatively they are getting there or not. Okay, so that was an excellent answer from you. And now my actual input is to contribute to Professor Nunu's earlier comment, that perhaps we have to move beyond percentages to partnership. Because the foreign firms come down, and then they take advantage of us. We do all the field work, do everything, and then, you know, it's like subcontract, see, and they pay us the peanuts, okay, and you cannot even attach, you know, your name to it. You see, so what we're looking for is partnership, that if you're coming to do any work here, you must partner a company, see, so that at least we will also build in internal capacity, and our name will also be credited with the project. So in future, we can also bid for for them. So that's the input. Then with the students, I think this is where IAIA Ghana can also come in internship opportunities for students to, gradually build their own capacity until they get to some limit where they can stand on their own and then be, be registered and certified. Yeah, so this is something that IAIA Ghana can also offer to students, and this is something we can capture in the.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Amoyo. I think we'll take one last question, and then we will have to close two more questions.
Yes, my name is Kelvin from Nature Solutions Limited. I received the news of the certification. One side of me, I'm happy. The other side, not too happy, because then I feel there's a risk of this becoming another procedural stuff where we end up getting probably good people, do good results, bring out good reports, but then the impact, which is to have probably a road like the Amasama Pokwasi road, not have people complain of common things like dust, which is ordinarily always attached to road projects. So where does it end? I get certification to do good reports, to get a permit, and it ends there. How does that trickle down to the project level where now we get to see the impact? I fear that we risk having the certification becoming another procedural stuff, or probably a revenue generation thing for whoever may take money for certification to be done, or for certificate to be given. Is that not a risk? Did you consider that, and what are some of the ways to handle it?
Well, I'll attempt, and then I'll give it to you. There are downsides to what we are trying to do. We had the keynote address that highlighted some of the challenges we are likely to face. But you see, if you look at the law, it says environmental management practitioners. It's not looking at only EIA consultants. If you are in an industry, for instance, most of the road projects have environmental consultants or managers attached to them. That person must be certified. His job is that during the operational phase, the implementation phase, you are a certified environmental management practitioner on the project. So you have to live to your name. You see, so if the regulator will enforce the rules, then that can solve that. We can move from the intention to the implementation easily. For me, that is where the work is. How do we ensure that the people we certified, especially the operational phase, do what they are supposed to do? If you don't, then it means you are going to lose your job. The next time you come for certification, they will not give it to you. That's my thought.
I mean, you are right. And I'm sure that if you look at the similar professions that we are trying to follow, if you are an engineer and you are on a project, you are given certain tasks to do, and you will have to certify certain things using your own stamp and all that. Why do we do that? It's because when there are issues, they will call you. When there are issues, they will call you. But nowadays, we don't have any. I'm sure road projects are going on without even an environmental practitioner on it, because it's not a requirement. And I'm sure the space will open for a lot of people, because projects are going on without any requirement for having a practitioner on that project. But when it comes to engineers, yes, that one, they are there because that is the requirement. But what about environmental management practitioners? No requirement. So it will open up job avenues for a lot of people. but it also comes with a bit of responsibility. You will be using your own stamp and signature. So if a project is going on and you are supposed to put in environmental management measures, you are supposed to do maybe watering exposed surfaces twice a day or 4 times in a day. You are supposed to ensure it is done. So if people are complaining and we come to find out that you on the job, you have done the certification but nothing is being done, it will go against you. So you will have to also stand up and say, look, I will not do this. The same way it happens in other professions. I'm sure a very credible engineer will not put his signature on certain dubious projects for him to sign, because he knows that when something happens, they will come after you. So it's the same, and that's why I said ethics is key. Although it will open up a lot of opportunities, it also puts a bit of responsibility on us to follow the ethics of the profession. And I'm sure there will be a lot of job opportunities going. So please, don't be scared. I'm sure change comes with a bit of responsibility, but we should be fine going together. We should be fine.
Yeah, I think I have just some small contribution to the discussion. Mr. The president, the outgoing president, when in his opening remarks, talked about academia and the presence of academia here and there, and how academia will contribute to professionalizing the environmental practice in Ghana. I got my exposure to environmental practice in the UK whilst I was doing doing my master's. And as part of the master's in the UK, the Department of Environment took up 40 hours, that's 1 whole week, in some of the major master's and PhD programs to come and teach us environmental impact assessment, environmental management, etc. 1 whole week, we did morning to evening, everything with the practice, and staff from the Department of Environment. And so this is inbuilt in the program. And that's where I first had my exposure. And as I got my master's, and then I got a certificate from the Department of Environment that you are a certified environmental practitioner as part of my master's. And so we could work at getting there. It's been done in UK and I believe in other parts of the world. We could get at getting there. The other thing is also, as part of the training, I got to know that they have a national database, ongoing database nationally, where they collect the data nationally. So environmental consultants don't need to even go and collect data. You pick up the data from the nation, it's a benchmark data, and yours is to model it according to the project that you are doing. So you don't do double work. For the same space, collect data all the time. It disturbs the environment. It disturbs its impact of researchers on the environment. And it's also not good. There are so many publications on that as well. So we need to find a way of establishing national database about the air, about water, about this, about that, everything, social and everything. So there's a benchmark, and you request, you pay, you get the data, and then you apply it to your project. And that is what is happening somewhere in the UK. At least I'm aware of that. Let's aim at getting to some of these things. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof, for your contribution. I would like to once again thank our panelists and also to you as well for your questions and your contributions. In fact, during the Q&A session, you made my work quite easy, because sometimes when you are moderating a session and people don't ask questions, then you are forced to think of questions on the spot to ask to keep the session running. So thank you all very much for your attention. I'd also like to remind us that this session was brought to you by the SET Perspective. The recording of the session will be up on the SET Ghana YouTube and LinkedIn platforms. And so you can always revisit the recording to watch back. Perhaps as you recap, there may be some more things that jog your mind or feedback that you may have for the EPA as they draft the regulations for the certification. And so, with that, we will bring this session to a close. And please, let's give ourselves a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rama. I think it's been a very interesting session, the panel discussion. And I think we all have to give the discussants another round of applause. Thank you very much. Personally, I'm, bristling with the excitement because we've been fighting for this kind of space for a long time. Many years ago, when I was IAIA secretary, we took this thing up with the then president. We crossed swords over this issue several times. But as they keep saying, there's nothing as powerful as an issue or a matter whose time has come. And I think this is the right time for us to begin to look at a new regime as has been brought by the regulatory framework. So let's all prepare ourselves and get ready to take full advantage of what is now emerging. On that note, I'd like to announce that it's getting late, past 7. We'll have our dinner. Is it in the next? Yes. We'll walk out and have our dinner so we can come back and then wind up on the project. Kojo, please show us, lead us. Okay, right outside, as we get out of the door, the restaurant is